create something that suggests like an open gate. It takes you into the painting. Okay. So the palette, okay, that works too. And so for the tree is somewhere back here, and you'd be surprised, but sometimes that's all I need just to suggest a tree. Because from experience, I used to spend time meticulously sketching and tracing every single branches. By the time I get to it, it's not going to be the same anyway. So the more I can leave out, the more I can let my brush participate in the painting process, and that way it can be a lot more expressive, in opposed to paint exactly like that tree. My God, I couldn't even begin thinking how I'm going to paint that tree to be exactly like that. So, but anyway, so that's the scene here. I kind of like to create another pose here, and then kind of see the chain link. Yeah, the chain link kind of coming through. Some idea of where the shadow is going to go, and then this foreground is going to be just simple, nothing there. And then as far as the gate is open, I guess I'm going to try to suggest that there's something back there that kind of invites you, and it doesn't have to be definitive, but other than just an open gate, it's an inviting gesture to get you in. So there you go. And then it looks like you got some tall grass there. Okay, so so it's very loose, and it's ready to go. And I can hold it up like this so you can kind of see what I've got. Okay, so now with that, let's make soup. Okay, color. Real quick, don't know the name of this palette. Got it about a year ago. Love it. This is the same number of colors that I use over and over. Every now and then I would be courageous enough to try a different color, but this is pretty much my go-to. I got cerulean blue. I got cobalt blue, which is a must-go. I gotta have that, no doubt about that. I have in here French ultramarine, Prussian blue. I got indigo blue. I use a lot of that too. In between that and Neutrotin, I got a color called Malvi. I got rose up ultramarine. I got lavender, and I got wisteria. I use these two combinations sometime with a cobalt blue just to kind of vary the mix for my sky, depending on what sky you're doing. I got cobalt turquoise light, just regular cobalt turquoise, cadmium red, cadmium orange, and I got my yellow ochre. I got my must-have raw sienna. I got cadmium yellow. I got my, I believe this is Naples yellow, and I got my Nugambosch, and I got another go-to alizarin crimson. This is a must. Raw sienna, alizarin crimson, and burnt sienna. It's a must. Burnt umber, raw umber. All of these guys are basically Daniel Smith watercolors. And then I have these three from Holbein. Gray of Gray. This is titanium white. Titanium is a white is a opaque color. Sometimes it's a little bit chalky, but I use it a lot for highlight and whatnot. And this is John Brilliant, which is a good color for skin tones, but I don't do enough of portrait. So, and then I got these two gray. They call us Zubukvik gray. One is warm gray, the other one is cold gray. I just have them there, and I rarely touch. And then I have a little bit of Payne's gray right there. So with that, no further ado, let's get going. Okay. Brushes, mostly I use Princeton around number 8, and sometime I go to a number 2, actually number 5. And then for the rest of it, I use a rigger brush. In this case, they also Princeton as well. It's called liner, but it's essentially is a rigger brush. Every now and then, I fancy myself and I go in with a dagger brush. These are so good for painting trees and greeneries and whatnot. So, but anyway, those are the color choices. And here we go. The brushes, I should say. If you have question, go ahead and type it up in the chat column, and Susan gonna help me get to some of them as much as I can. If not, for sure, at the end of the demo, I would find time to answer all those questions for you. Okay, just got myself a little bit of cobalt blue mixed with some lavender and a little bit of wisteria. Sounds like someone disapproving something there. I used to be really fret about painting sky or painting cloud, trying to create all the perfect cloud patterns and whatnot. But more than likely, I always goof something, and it's never right. So I kind of step away from it, and then decided just go ahead and just let watercolor does what it does on your paper, and then it becomes what it becomes. And I just started to like a lot of it too. It's very expressive, and it's not so meticulous as far as this style of painting. So with the sky in place, I'm going to go ahead and get some greenery going. You can see what's left behind from the previous session. I just kind of mix that with the sky color, bring in a little bit of burnt sienna. Naturally, because of the sky, it's already a little bit cool. I'm trying to mix a little bit of warm in there. Very mild warm, but it's not overly warm. Let the paper and the wetness of the paper right now creating some of the blooming and whatnot to communicate distant landscape from beyond. What it is, I don't know, but it's a suggestion. Again, it's all about the power of suggestion. It's not intended to be very descriptive of bushes and whatnot. So that's what I've got there. Okay, fish some new cobalt turquoise. Get a little bit gamboge in there. I mixed most of my green. Just about the only other green that I'm guilty of using right out of the tube is the sap green, but mostly trying to mix that on my own. So with obviously you can see in the picture, I'm already changing it. I'm already creating something completely of my own interpretation, so it won't be exactly that. This other brush, it's called Del Mar, and I like it a lot. I've been trying to see if I can find some more, but haven't seen any more from the local art supply warehouse here.
Oh, I love the way he paints.
Now, you can see from the picture that there's a little bit of the brown, the dirt color on the ground. So I don't mind suggesting that. Again, this is only the first pass, which is the underpainting, and most of the underpainting is usually in a very light value. So nothing definitive yet. Just to drop it in there, and then once it's settled enough, then I can start getting to the second layer. So right now, mind you that in the old day, painting like this scares me to death because I am so used to being very precise and whatnot. But it took a long time. The key thing is you can see it's still quite wet, so I don't mind actually allowing some of the color to kind of commingle on the screen. Okay, so that's that. So again, look at the sky, even with that little white spot there. Like I said, in the old day, I would scare to death on that, and I would try to fix it. And nowadays I realize after more than 3 strokes, it's damage control, so nothing you can do about it. So I'm happy with it. I'm going to let it go, and that's my sky. Okay. So with that, I'm going to turn on the air dryer just to dry it up a little bit here. Just a little bit, not too much, because I realize that when your painting is still wet, it's still alive, and when it's alive, you can actually create all of these beautiful mixes of colors and whatnot very well. And I learned to live with that, and I learned to take care of that in opposed to drying it completely. Once you dry it completely, it just essentially just killed the whole painting. So that's the under painting. Now I'm going to try to come back and essentially try to work the background a little bit more before I'm going to move forward to the gate and all the posts and whatnot. So let's go to the next step. Okay, mix some more green. The beauty about taking advantage of what's on the what's existing, what's left on the palette, sometimes it's amazing. You can't explain what color that is other than it just happened to be a wonderful leftover soup, and I ended up with some nice green that I wouldn't otherwise be able to find, and a little bit of cobalt blue just to kind of get some of the dark value ready there. You got the light here, and then you can see I'm already making a move into the leftover sky color, and I already got 2 or 3 different colors there for the background bushes. So this is already dry, and then sometime I use this just to get all of the excess water out of it. You can see there's another secret. Your finger can actually help you a great deal. Continue to work with the suggestion of some greenery back there. Go in with some of the warm color. Some dark ones. I particularly like a lot of the brushes that very pointy, because they allow me to essentially sketch right on the painting. Okay, so that's there. It may be a little bit too much, but I'm okay with that. I'm too much meaning that I'm keeping an eye on the top of the brushes here, or the background bush. I call it brush, but actually a bush. In relationship to some of the posts, again, I'm mindful of not trying to create parallel everywhere on the painting. So that's what I was talking about. You can see that I'm painting right over the area where the gate is going to be, but that's not going to be a problem. The closer I get to the road, a little bit more of the warm color, I'm going to bring it in just to kind of connect with the road. And then that can use a little bit darker. One thing that I haven't mentioned, the light source is going to be coming from the right to the left. It's always good to kind of have an idea where that is when you get into the painting. Okay, so now with some of this green that I have left over here, some of that can be shared with the grass along here. I'm going to wet this a little bit to allow for that to commingle better. Okay, a little bit more back there. I hope everyone's still there. Okay. So dropping this back in, you can see, if I held it like this, actually, if I put it right here, you can see it. You can see my interpretation of what's there versus what on the painting. It's already a completely different take on, I can call it a country road or something, but it's a roadway to taking you to somewhere. But now I'm going to try to create a painting where it's going to actually invite you further into the unknown beyond in this painting, which is what kind of interests me in the first place, much more than the overall painting. So now with this, I can continue to just drop in greenery here and there, and a little bit more on the road. You see that it's a wet on wet that I am doing just to allow color to mix and whatnot. And then because I wanted to invite people into the painting, a little bit of that, taking your eyes in there, kind of suggests that there's a turn, must have happened enough time. Okay, so that's that. Now, by now, some of these overlap is dry enough that I actually can lift out colors. You can see there's one. This may be a bit challenging here. Okay, 733. Okay. All right, so with that, I am now going to go into creating the fence posts. It's a raw umber with a touch of cobalt blue. And then I want to make sure some of my burnt sienna is standby, ready to go, not too wet. This side is still a little bit moist, so I'm going to hit it with the hair dryer a little bit. And that should do it. These guys, lift them out or not, doesn't matter because it's going to be a dark color going over that. So the first post is going to go in. Now, even with the sketch that I did, that you see there, at this time, sometime my brush actually invent stuff that I absolutely don't mind as far as the process, kind of letting it involve. You see, I'm not following any of the pencil line. Sometimes colors mixing a little bit there, that's fine. Keep in mind the light is on that side, so I'm okay with hitting it with a little bit of a burnt sienna in there. I usually don't talk much about the actual color other than it's just the warm and the cold and the warm and versus cool and whatnot, more than the color. Okay. Okay, there you go. Keep in mind too, the more water you have, sometimes the less value you have. So I'm trying to, it's something I constantly try to remind myself, and it's not always successful. So I'm going to hit this with a little bit more of the, okay, start to look like a fence. It's got various different height. Okay. And then this intermediate horizontal posts. I'm going to give it another one. Okay, so let's see on this side, since we kind of look at the picture, I'm going to do one right here. Oddly enough, there's some kind of a support right at the gate. Okay, now I am going to go ahead and at this point drop in a few darker shade for the bush beyond before I'm going to get to the small gate that swings open. Even though there's very little water here, but I still do this just to absorb, just to sponge out as much water from the mix as I can. Okay.
He's painting like
Okay. I am going to go ahead and hit the tree first. Sometimes, I guess from experience, if you do this long enough, the process essentially is the same. It's always the background and the middle ground and the foreground. But sometimes I look at some of these elements like they're like dessert. I can't wait to get to them first. In this painting, I think the tree is what I'm really excited, and I can't wait to get to it. So here's another rigger brush. This is probably a Robert Simmons. I've been using for so long, so it lost the label. Okay, so
rigger.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to hit it right about there.
If your mic isn't muted and there's noise in the background of your house, we end up seeing you. So maybe think about muting your mic if you can. It's either at the bottom or the top. There's a mic and it says mute. The image that he's painting from is in the chat, if anybody wants to look at that. We have one question, and it's, what is the paper weight and how do you keep the paper from warping?
Well, this is I usually use Arches Bright White 140 pound, and I don't have to do anything special. This paper is essentially a Canson watercolor journal book, and I believe the weight is also 140 pound as well. And it's a smooth surface. It's not exactly hot press, but it's cold press. I prefer rough press. So it does kind of, you can see it's doing something, but this being the last couple of pages, so I kind of got clever. I tape it to the bottom of this hard bind cover so that it won't do what is, usually would try to do, but I'm okay with it warping just a little bit right now, but I don't do anything else special other than just that. Okay, so with the rigger brush, and you just basically design all these various different, you can see by now I don't follow any of the sketches whatsoever. This become where you become very expressive, and you just invent stuff. And invent stuff is quite all right. This is your own time and your own effort. So this is what I was talking about, being third in line as far as Mother Nature. You photograph it, and you come out and you try to create something that has a bit of personality, is your personality in it per se. So it's quite all right. It's still suggesting a tree, maybe to the particular botanist. They look at it and say, no, that's not the right tree and whatnot. But I'm sorry, but this is art, and this is
bush.
yeah. So the tree is a good start, but I noticed in the picture it does have a pretty nice canopy. So I'm going to attempt to get to it again later, but right now I'm just going to try to get enough of a shape going. Okay. And with that, I am going to also try to you notice that there's barbed wire going on the fence, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in. You can see the variety of different brush stroke, and sometimes I try to do skip brush and whatnot. Keep in mind, I am constantly discovering techniques and learning from it. So it's always a never-ending process, and that's what fun about it. Okay, so from the picture, looks like there's some kind of a chicken wire or something along the bottom of the fence. So I'm going to go ahead and just try to communicate that as well. Okay, and then leave room for the lower grass to come in. So that's going to happen later on. Okay. Okay, that looks like chicken wire, chicken fence or whatever you call it. Okay, over here you got some of that going as well. Oh, my time's up. Okay, so with this, I now gotta get the swing gate in there to kind of see what the picture is going to look like. So that swing gate does have a little bit of a post. You see the pointed part of the brush is actually comes into play quite well right now. And then this fence, this gate got horizontal slat. Trying to get the perspective correct. There I got my gate. So and then this wouldn't be correct for barbed wire without these little tick marks. So there you got. Okay. Now, let's make that tree back there a little bit more robust. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of a larger trunk. I'm going to go ahead and do it right here. And then Now, what I need to do is I need to work the lower grass in. The lower grass is sort of like a burnt color. So I got some raw sienna going here and essentially happening along the bait. So I'm gonna try to get that going. Where you edit, some of the green that you have on this side can certainly help to play a part. And now I'm going to wet this a little bit. Okay, got that. So that's where we are so far. Right, so I got the fence post in place where the sun hits some of these guys. Okay. And then back to the smaller rigger brush just to get some of the detailed branches going. My intention of trying to create some of these smaller lower, I should say, branches, again, it's kind of working with the gesture that I'm kind of like try to connect the two sides of the painting, and opposed to a fence here and a fence there and a gate and everything kind of open in between. There's no relationship. So it's a small gesture, but in my mind, that's what I wanted to do. To kind of like have it come over, if not touching, which is okay. So you connect the two sides together. And then since some of that seemed to work over there quite well, I wouldn't mind inventing another idea here, is to, instead of letting this last post right here be by itself, I am gonna, guess what? There's another smaller tree there. Kind of help anchor this side of the painting, in opposed to just basically open. There's nothing there. That's the idea. And it just seemed natural to work there. Okay. So I got that. These little line of brush are actually quite fun to use to delineate some of these little trees. Okay, now what am I missing? Kind of looking at this over here, I see a little bit of a gap there. Since I already started a little branch here, right there. I'm going to go ahead and just help fill that in. Okay. Okay. Now, the next part I'm looking at it is I got all this right where I kind of like it. Now, mind you that for me, this opening right here, it's too much of a center thing. So I'm gonna try to see. Not much I can do about it, even though as much as I'm trying to stay away from the center kind of a thing, but you know, the rule of third and whatnot. I start looking at some of these posts. I like the variety of the thick one, you know, a little bit thicker, and the thin one, the big one. These two are too much of the same, so I'm gonna see if I can vary that just to undo that. So I could make this a bit thicker as the dominant post on that side. Or is this little one here? Okay.
That does help.
It does help, doesn't it? Yeah.
I'll be darned.
So again, I'm always mindful of repetitive of the same. So all of these gaps, I keep an eye on that. Make sure that since you have the last post here and you have another post here, the gap is not always the same. The top of the line, you know, changing from side to side. It's add to the overall dynamic of the painting, and opposed to the same, and whatnot. So, okay, so now you kind of got the gate to take you there. So I'm going to start working with a little bit of the. I still need to vary this green a little bit. Not happy with that yet. So here goes. He's going to ruin it. You see some of the leftover, just actually introducing some really nice color mix on the palette here. How do I get the grass to read? Okay. Narrow that gap a little bit there. Okay. Now I'm going to start detailing this road. So what do you have in a road? You just basically just dirt, and detail like this is quite beautiful to see if I can actually pick up some of that. I don't have that here yet, so. And I can be pretty liberal with that as well. Just like, who knows, could be bicycle path or something there on this road. Okay, I'm gonna blast it with some air to dry it a little bit.
That's pretty.
Now you can see that the idea of trying to hide that, other than just a sliver of what's left there as far as the roadway, again, I know in the actual picture that there's a definitive roadway to take you there, but by doing this, I am purposely trying to, once you get there, force your eye into the opening of the gate and go through to something wonderful beyond. So the next thing I have is essentially trying to get my shadow going. It's another dessert that I can't wait sometime. And here we go with Prussian blue. I usually use indigo blue much more than Prussian blue, because Prussian blue is a staining color, but I've used it so long, ever since I've been painting. So a little bit of that with some alizarin crimson, just to kind of get me the, I don't know, the shadow that I use for most of my painting. So that's the texture that I'm looking for. Although it may be, yeah, I need to be a bit darker than that. So here we go. And this is the fun part where, since light is coming from the right to the left, you can either follow what's in the picture, which seems to cast the light parallel to the picture. Again, that's not enough interest for me. I don't like that. It ended up creating so many horizontal line that you see, the horizontal of the distant beyond, the horizontal slat on the gate, the horizontal shadow on the ground, and then the two horizontal that you automatically have when you do a painting by the time you frame it. So I always be mindful of that and trying to create different directions and whatnot, just to add interest. And then that's me, and that seemed to work all right. And I gonna continue to do that. Okay, so here we go. The first shadow is going to be the one that gonna, either you're gonna goof it badly or you're gonna do wonder. And then since we got tall grass back here, keep in mind that we're gonna come back for that too. And then you got this action that taking place here. It's not here yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this, which is the grass. I'm gonna have to come back to strengthen that a little bit, but that's the grass in the foreground that you see there. It looks like I got enough just for, again, back to the rigger brush. And then here, all right, we're getting close. Okay, the last part also is the highlighting part. I typically go to my Holbein titanium white. Some people ask me why Holbein. There's no rule to it. If you prefer gouache, you can do that too, or you can prefer Chinese white. Chinese white is tend to be chalky, like I said before. So I found this Holbein, and it seemed to do the job for me. And it's just a few last highlight that I hit. Not a lot, but just a little bit here and there. I know I can do the grass a little bit better here. Okay, we're getting very close here. Okay, I think that's getting close to soup. I would have loved to see a little bit more of some of the burnt sienna on this side. Okay, I think that's done for the first demo.
Wow.
I'll bring back the picture so we can kind of see it in a few seconds here. And I think we're going to break away for 5 minutes for the intermission. You're going to see a bunch of painting on the screen. That's just basically a slideshow. I'll go away and I'll peel off the tape, and then we'll come back and look at it, and hopefully take some time and answer some questions as well. And then I'll launch into the second demo due to time interest. But that's about it.
Everybody gone.
Looks
I'm sorry?
great. Thanks, Son.
Sure.
Hi,
Oh.
Yola.
I'm good. I'm good. How's everybody? Are they still
Good.
there?
41 people online. Everybody's still here.
Oh no. Thank you everyone for joining. This is great for me to be able to do this with the Tustin Art League, and it's a pleasure. Sometime for sport, I actually don't mind. There's thing that you don't see, but my eyes can see. So here's the first cheating. Some of the designer gouache that I use sparingly, just to pick up on a few things that kind of like highlighting a little bit of the grass from below. This is like powdered sugar on a wonderful cake that you're about to enjoy. So it's okay. It's not terribly cheating, but it's okay. I'm happy with that. Anyway, so with that, let's go ahead and take the 5 minutes break, and I'll get ready to go into the next one.
Oh, you did that fast.
Okay.
Don't go away.
I have to use the hair dryer just to kind of warm up the tape a little bit. This is just a regular masking tape. And I am so particular about not wanting to rip the border of the painting when I'm done. So it's going to help take it off nicely.
Wow.
Let's see, it's already ripping the paper right here. Okay, so here's the final painting. And let's bring back the inspiration photo.
I'll be gone.
Well, there you go. There's a lot of elements here that obviously excite my eyes in the first place. You know, the gate at the end of the road, the trees and fences and whatnot. But from there to here, that's my take of it, and that's what I do, and that's my design for it. It still retains some of the spirits as far as the gate and the trees and a sunny day, but I am in control of everything else as far as, you know, where to crop it and what to create. And in this case, I chose to go with the vertical format. Again, it has a lot to do with the way I read it. Some of these fence posts and whatnot, they're already vertical elements along with the trees and whatnot. It just makes a lot of sense to accentuate and create a vertical format painting. So there it is right there. First painting. Okay, Susan. I don't know if Kevin's still there. Kevin, are you there?
That's pretty.
Let's do the intermission, and I'll get ready for the next one.
Very nice. See
Thank you.
everybody in 5.
Okay.
Great, thanks.
We'll be
Oh,
back in
those
5 minutes.
little Boats. Oh my gosh. Love it.
Watercolor demonstration. I guess I should start putting this stuff back in the bathroom, or